Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Shania, and for today's video I thought that I would discuss with you guys all of the books that I really want to get to in the year 2020, a 2020 TBR if you will. So I originally was going to just do one video, but I had so many books that I want to read this year that I decided to split them up and do one video talking about all the series that I want to read in the year 2020, and then do another video where I talk about all the standalones that I want to read in 2020. So today we're going to be discussing all of these series that I want to read this year, and without further ado, let's just get into the video. So the very first series that I want to get to this year is one that is talked about quite frequently both on BookTube and on Twitter, and is raved about quite a bit by Emma from Emma Books, and that is the Diviner series by Libba Bray. This series is set in a 1920s New York, specifically 1926, and we follow a young woman who just figured out that she has these supernatural powers, and in the midst of that there is a serial killer that is going around wreaking havoc and murdering people. And the main character, with her new powers that she just found, has figured out that those powers can assist her in figuring out who this serial killer really is. While I have heard a lot of people talk about how great this series really is, there are also on the flip side a lot of people that talk about how they read the first one and weren't really feeling it. But I have heard that you have to get past the first one and it gets a lot better throughout each book in the series. So that is my plan, and I'm hoping that I'm one of the few that really enjoys that first book just as much as the other books, and I'm really excited to see how this book series is, in my opinion. The next series is one that I have already mentioned on my channel. That is one that I really want to get to, and that is the Children of Blood and Bone series by Tomi Adeyemi. I know that this series goes by a different name, but I cannot pronounce it for the life of me, so we're gonna stick with the Children of Blood and Bone series. And if you guys haven't heard of this series, it is a YA fantasy that follows our main character Zaylee through her fight in trying to get magic back for her and her people after it was stolen. And throughout the book, she embarks on this epic adventure in her kingdom in order to get power or magic back into her community. Out of all the releases in 2019, I find that the Children of Blood and Bone series is by far the most beautiful cover-wise. I know that Children of Blood and Bone didn't come out in 2019, but the sequel, Children of Vengeance and Virtue, did, and the covers are just gorgeous, you guys. And I know that you can't always judge a book by its cover, but it's seriously so beautiful, and the fact that it is talked about quite frequently on BookTube and also in Goodreads and other venues of being able to talk about things, it is raved about constantly. And just knowing that there are really good reviews about it and the fact that the covers are beautiful just make it a perfect package, and I really want to get to it here this year. The next series that I want to get to is one that I have heard so many great reviews about from, again, Emma from Emma Books, and also from Eden is Reading, and I really want to get to this one, and that is the Renegades series by Marissa Meyer. This is another YA fantasy series that surrounds a group of people that have supernatural abilities, and they are known as the Renegades, and their part in society is to maintain the peace. So the main character in these books, Nova, is a hater of the Renegades. She does not like them at all, and she has reasons for why she doesn't like the Renegades, and she is out for revenge against them. And then on the other side, there is Adrian, who is a renegade, and he just wants to maintain the peace and promote justice throughout the society. And when these two meet, there is obviously some conflicting issues here, but there is an outside enemy that is trying to take down both the Renegades and all the beliefs that Nova has, and the pair have to work together in order to defeat this. I mentioned in one of my book hauls that I recently picked up the second one in the series, Arc Enemies, from Book Outlet, and I don't have the physical copies at all of the first one, Renegades, and then the most recent book, Supernova, the third one, and I definitely want to get those very soon and start reading that series because it sounds super interesting, and I realized that so far all these books that I'm talking about are about characters who have these supernatural abilities or powers or magic and whatnot, but I mean, that must be a trend right now in YA. I have no idea. but I am here for it and I am ready to dive in and read this series. The next series that I want to get to is one that I wanted to read immediately after I read the book that this series originates from, and that is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. If you guys haven't heard of this series, it's about two characters that actually come from fan fiction written from the book Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. But basically, we dive into this world that was created from fanfiction, and it surrounds these two characters, and they are going to their magic school, or the school for magical people, and there is a love interest between the two, I know that, and then also I think one is like a vampire, but I don't know for sure. I don't want to know too much. I mean, obviously I read Fangirl, so I know a little bit about them. I know about how she wanted to write, but I honestly don't know anything about how it carries out into Carry On, and I'm really excited to read about it and learn more. So I cannot wait, and the covers for these books are gorgeous, and they're always catching my eye whenever I'm at Barnes & Noble, so I have to read them so soon because I love Fangirl and I know I'm gonna love this series just as much. The next series that I want to dive into is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So far, I think that this is a 3-book series. The 3rd book is coming out very shortly, and I know a lot of people are very hyped and excited to read it. If you guys haven't heard of this series, it is very reminiscent of Breakfast Club. It's almost like a retelling or a different spin on the Breakfast Club and deals with 5 individuals. We have the athlete, the princess or like the popular girl, and then the criminal, the outcast, and the brains. And all 5 of these individuals go to detention one day. And after detention is over, we find out that one of the individuals, the outcast named Simon, is found dead. And from that, the investigators are trying to figure out how he died, if it was a murder. And it comes to light that Simon was planning on releasing these juicy secrets about the 4 individuals before his ultimate demise, and investigators instantly are thinking towards which one of these 4 individuals was the murderer, and we go throughout that and figure out what the mystery is behind it. I know that Kat from Rustic Pages has talked about this series frequently and talks about how it is one of her favorite series, so from her recommendations, I definitely know that I want to read it myself. And I'm also a huge fan of The Breakfast Club and have always enjoyed it, so I really want to see what the twist is in this story. And I'm super inspired for the fact that it is very similar to The Breakfast Club with a dark twist to it, and I really, really want to get to this one this year. The next series that I want to get into is one that you guys should not be surprised for the reasons of why I want to read this, because it is very talked about, very raved right now, not necessarily the series, but the TV show is, and that is the Witcher series by Andrejz Sapkowski. Like I said, very obvious to why I want to read it. I watched the TV show, except I haven't finished the last episode yet because I'm waiting to watch it with my parabate, but I'm really excited to finish the series and I really liked it. I mean, let's be honest, I was really here for Geralt because Henry Cavill played him so well, but I really want to read the books because not only from the show, but also because Tristan plays the video game and he is actually listening to the books right now on audiobook, and he says that they're so good and I definitely want to read them. And I've heard a lot of rumors about if you plan on playing the video game, then you should read the books first, because throughout the books there is this huge revelation that happens towards the end and it kind of leads you on as a reader and you don't find out to the end, but it is a revelation that is figured out very soon in the game, specifically Witcher 3. So I do want to play the game eventually, so I plan on reading the books so that I don't get spoiled from the game, because I don't really want to read the books and know what's going on the entire time and not be surprised, if you know what I mean. So I plan on reading the books and then I hopefully will get to the game, and I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be really good. A lot of people from the TV show have started reading the books and they have said that they really enjoy it. So I'm excited to dive in and read this epic fantasy. The next series that I want to get into in 2020 is one that I talked about last year in regards to the popular series that I DNF'd, but I am determined that I will read it this year, and that is the Raven Boys series by Maggie Stiefvater. I just have to get to this series because I didn't really give it a full shot when I DNF'd it. I only read like seriously 30 to 50 pages in the first book and I put it down and I never picked it back up again. Like, I still have my bookmark in it from where I put it down, and I have to give it another chance because so many people talk about it and say that it's like a hallmark in their reading career, and I have to get to it. I have to read it because I've heard nothing but the best, and I really enjoyed Maggie Stiefvater's series of the Shiver series, and I want to read this one because I like her as an author, and I know that her most recent book, Call Down the Hawk, is a like spin-off from one of the characters in the Raven Cycle or the Raven Boys series, and I have to read it. So this is one that I definitely will be planning on getting to in 2020. If you guys haven't heard of this series, it is focused on the main character, Blue Sargent, and she goes every year with her clairvoyant mother and they watch the dead arrive. And then one time she sees a boy come out and talk to her, and his name is Gansey, and he is from a private school that is known for being like the rich boys, the very popular, clean-cut individual boys, and he is also known for being part of the Raven Boys, and they are known to be very dangerous, and she needs to stay away from him, but she is constantly just drawn to Gansey and she ends up joining them. And then after she joins, I think that there's a lot of angst from what I hear, and a bunch of other crazy things happen from there on out, and I cannot wait to see what happens for myself. The next set of books that I really want to get to is another epic fantasy. I mean, my TBR is doing really well fantasy-wise, but that is the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. This series, like I said, is an epic fantasy that deals with our main character, Kelsier. I think that's how you pronounce it. But anyways, Kelsier is a teacher of the magic of metals and ends up forming a crew in order to take down this tyrant lord that has taken over their world in order to save everybody in their kingdom or their world. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm excited to read it and see what I think about it. Honestly, this series wasn't really on my radar for books that I wanted to read. I had seen other people reading it and enjoying it a lot, but it wasn't until Chandler Ainsley here on YouTube decided to read it for one of her taste test videos and ended up really liking it. So I thought, well, if Chandler can read it and she's a big romance reader, then I can read it and I can sit down and do it. So I decided that this definitely has to go on my list because not only am I taking what she recommended, but I'm also deciding that other people's recommendations of it are just as valuable and I have to read it for myself. The next series is one that I most recently talked about in my Christmas book haul, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This series focuses on our main character, Kel, who is the last of the Antari, which is a group of magicians who have the power to travel from Red London, White London, Grey London, and then the no longer existing Black London. In addition, Kel is also a smuggler, and after an exchange, he meets Delilah, who ends up actually stealing from him and then ends up saving him, I guess. And then the two end up pairing up to fight against this deadly enemy that is trying to take down their world. Okay, to give you guys a little bit of honesty here, I have never read a book by Victoria Schwab. I know, what is wrong with me? Am I really a reader? I don't know, but I definitely need to fix that in the year 2020, and I think the perfect way to remedy that is to read this series, and I cannot wait to start it. Alright, so the very last series that I am putting on this TBR for the year 2020 in regards to series is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. This series is about our young protagonist, Scarlet, who lives on an island with her cruel father and then also her sister, Tella. Scarlet's father ends up deciding to arrange a marriage for Scarlet, and she ends up having to travel away, but she ends up being rescued by a mysterious sailor and her sister, Tella. Scarlet's biggest fear when she was living on the island with her father and then also with the arranged marriage is that she would never get to see or experience Caraval, which is a once-a-year show that is put on. But after she ends up getting saved by the mysterious sailor and her sister Tella, she meets the mastermind behind Caraval, which is a man named Legend, and he ends up kidnapping her sister Tella, and from there are secrets unraveled that this man Legend kidnapped her sister Tella in order to be a part of the new Caraval that year, and whoever finds Tella first wins. Honestly, when I was just regurgitating that, it didn't make a lot of sense, and I'm really excited to read the series so that it comes a little bit clearer for me and I can give you guys a better description of it later. So those are all the series that I plan on reading in the year of 2020, and like I said, I also have another video, part 2 kind of in a way, coming up where I talk about all these standalones that I want to read in the year 2020. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys have read any of these series, please let me know if you guys really enjoyed them down below, but please, again, do not spoil. And if you guys want to, please follow me on any of my social media. I'll have them linked down below. And subscribe if you guys haven't already, but other than that, I will see you guys next time. Bye!